You pair out of home with a digital campaign, especially mobile. I mean, think about it. You're out, everybody has this thing on them all the time. Your click-through rates are times 4 of the national average if you just pair it with some out of home in the market. So increasing the click-through rates, mobile and billboards are just a perfect match made in heaven. Peas and carrots.
All right, welcome to Over a Pint. We're back where we focus on the fast-paced and ever-changing world of marketing. Told through the eyes of industry veterans with decades of in-the-trenches experience. Never any theory on this show. It is all about real-world practical experience told to you by those that have been there, and that always includes our guests. So grab a pint of your favorite local brewski or whatever your choice of drink may be and join us for the show. As always, I am joined by my better half, my co-host, Mr. Pat McGovern, new biz director at Acedia, an award-winning digital shop here in Milwaukee. And I'm Kurt Lingle, vice president at Celtic, a full-service advertising agency located in Milwaukee's historic Third Ward neighborhood. So Pat, gone are the days in the advertising biz when a creative idea would be developed and then it was forced into some sort of media plan. Idea first, and then we kind of just bang it into, does it go into TV? Does it go into print, outdoor, radio, digital? It can happen that way, but that's not really the way things are happening today. And I think, as we all know, the channel is every bit as important as the message itself. In fact, the channel can drive the message. The channel can drive the creative idea. It can be the strategy. It can support the strategy. It's why media and creative really, really need to work hand in hand in order to get that best thinking and the best results. And I'm going to get into it because on today's show, we have Ali Broback, who is a self-proclaimed out-of-home nerd. Those are her words, not mine. So please don't get mad at me, listeners. These are Ali's words. She is the chief client officer for ODN, and she's going to tell us more about ODN later, but this is an agency that is all about the smarts when it comes to out of home, how to buy it, how to make it move and engage. I mean, they do it all, and she's going to tell us more about her company. And I will say, Ali is probably perfect to have on as a guest because, and it's just my opinion. Ali and I talked about a couple months ago or a month and a half ago. I love out of home. I'm amazed at how it's evolved and morphed into probably one of the more creative and client engaging mediums that are out there for brands to take advantage of. And so this is going to be really cool to talk about and get Ali's take. So on that note, let's get into it. Ali, welcome to Over a Pint.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be here. I'm excited to talk to you guys and just to have a fun conversation around out of home.
It's going to be fun. So, all right. So you've been warned, you've been prepped. It's called Over a Pint. We call it that for a reason. We go around and everyone kind of plugs what it is they're enjoying. Brew, coffee, tea, water. We don't care. What are you drinking though today?
Well, let me crack her open. So I am drinking an Utepils Skolch. So Utepils is it's a brewery in Bryn Mawr, which is a little cute neighborhood west of the Twin Cities that I used to live in. And it's a really cool spot. I took my son to his first concert there, and I'm drinking Skolch. It's a Kolsch style, but I love the Skol, and that's kind of embedded in that because Vikings fan here. We don't cheers, we Skol. So yeah, Skol. Awesome.
That's very cool. Hey, Pat, what are you bringing to the show today?
Well, I've got a New Glarus. I've got a spotted cow, which is great. It's delicious. But Ellie, we had Tammy Lee on our show. Tammy Lee is part owner of Utepils.
No way. That's so funny.
Yeah, we are very familiar with that, and I've been to the Utepils tap room. It's
a
big place, and
it is
really cool.
It is.
We were there a couple times, and once they were having an Oktoberfest outside, and it's like I didn't even realize there was that much space behind it. I mean, it's really cool.
It is. It's a cool spot. It's fun to bring kids and dogs, and it's an awesome location. Bryn Mawr is such a cute neighborhood.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, Mr. Lingo, I've got a New Glarus Spotted Cow. It's delicious. We're all familiar with this Spotted New Glarus Brewing.
Yeah.
They're the OG in kind of in kind of this sector, but man, they got a good product, don't they?
Well, they do, and people sneak it in their suitcases as they go across state lines. And it's like, if you ask, it's like, it's like, hey, bring me back some Spotted Cow, New Glarus. So cool. Okay, so I'm kind of going to be half boring here. So as soon as this podcast wraps up, I told Pat this before you jumped on, Ali, I'm actually heading out of town to attend the Ice Age Trails annual meeting up in Sheboygan. It's an organization that I'm very involved with. I hike this trail. I volunteer. I'm on the board. It's a 1,200-mile hiking trail, and we got the annual meeting going on. So I've got coffee in my Ice Age Trail Alliance mug that we designed, which I think is kind of cool. So there's props to the Ice Age Trail. But I'm not going to disappoint you all. So I'm going to Sheboygan, and Sheboygan is home of Three Sheeps Brewing. So, Pat, I know you'll appreciate this. When I'm up there tonight, I am going to be seeking out a Three Sheeps Chaos Pattern beer because I love their hazy IPA. I just love this brewery. So I'm coming Three Sheeps way tonight. So look out. So I'll have some fun later on. So anyway.
I love it.
All right, let's jump into it. So I got to give props to my wife, Ellen. So we were talking, we on this show, I don't think we've ever really had a problem finding great guests. Somehow we've been lucky. They fall into our hands, and it's like, we know good people, but we also get to meet some really great new people. And my wife, Ellen, brought up Allie's name, said, you got to talk to Allie. She's great personality, super smart, out of home. So I had a chance to talk to Allie, and after that conversation, I was like, let's get her on because she's got a lot of perspective to offer. So Allie, let's get started real quickly with an easy one.
Sure.
Give us your elevator speech. Just give us a real top line background on who you are and really your story.
Sure. I'd love to. So, I've been in advertising most of my career. I have sold everything but TV. So most of my jobs have been on the sales side. So I come from that, account executive lifestyle. Yep. My client at one point was ODN, or back then it was Outdoor Nation. And so I would pick up the president of ODN, and take him on market rides looking for billboards in Minneapolis because I was selling billboards. And we just developed a friendship. You do that when you're in the car doing market rides. So he called me and asked if I wanted to come to the agency side. And, about 8 years later, here we are. So ODN is a traditional out-of-home buying service. There's a handful of agencies like ours out there, but we're super different than our competitors because we buy on the local level. So we have account executives in every market and DMA across the country. We don't work with national reps. We're buying, we have our reps in Omaha. We have our reps in Denver. And we're not only buying from the Clear Channels and the Outfronts and the Lamars, we're also buying from Franklin or Mile High. There's like over 500 or so media vendors across the country that we work with locally. Wow. It's all we do. I've squirreled in my career when somebody's like, oh, can you help us do mobile retargeting? I'm like, I sold mobile, I can help you. We are sticking to our core business these days, and it's really been paying off. So we've just grown immensely over the last few years. And so it's fun. I am Chief Client Officer, which in tow really means Chief Revenue Officer, but I never liked the word revenue in my title. I was like, I don't want people seeing me in meetings and thinking all I care about is money. I care about the client. So we sort of invented the title of Chief Client Officer, knowing that my role was just all about, keeping our clients happy and elevating their brands, whether it's brand director with an agency. So yeah, we've got 53 people at ODN that are just focused on out of home, day in and day out, with media buyers and production, full art services, all that. So yeah, it's kind of fun. We've grown a ton over the last few years, and I see big things for us in the future too.
Thank you. That's a great
Yeah.
overview. And I know when we chatted and we met for the first time, we were talking a little bit about the out of home industry
Mhm.
and the fact that you've been a part of it for a while now,
Yeah.
and you've seen a lot of changes. And I prepped you. I gave this as a question. There's no surprise here, but in my mind, I was thinking about out of home, and I was like, it, back in the day when you thought out of home, what was the first thing that most people thought of? We probably weren't even saying out of home, but it was outdoor billboard, the traditional
Yeah.
outdoor billboard, which it's, I mean, for our listeners, I mean, just talk about how this industry has gone bananas, because out of home
Yeah.
encompasses a lot.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Define it.
Well, and before I even define it, you brought up outdoor. When I first got into outdoor, I took an interview for CBS Outdoor. I thought I was applying for a job as the front desk person at a landscaping company. Quickly found out that CBS Outdoor is not landscaping; it is out of home billboards in Minneapolis. So in the interview, you can imagine I'm sitting there with Bob Graziger, the GM at the time, and he was like, yeah, sure, you could answer phones and route phone calls, but you're a salesperson at heart. And I was like, me? Little nice Ali from Minnetonka, Minnesota. I'm not a sales dog. I'm not a bulldog. And he was like, just wait. So he was right. He kind of saw the twinkle in my eye, I think. But yeah, it has evolved, Kurt. You're so right. I think that people, they think of out of home as being billboards, digital, static, 14 by 48s on the side of the highway. But it's so much more than that. It's transit, but it's even more than that. Like, it's just part of your daily journey every day. And it's, when you go to the grocery store, you grab onto the handle of the cart and there is an ad right there. That's out of home. You check out at the grocery store, there's a digital network as you're checking out, encouraging you to go to Tax Act and file your taxes. That's out of home. You're sitting in the waiting room of a dental office. There is an ad network playing. I mean, that's out of home. These ads are part of your journey throughout the day. Never an interruption. Never, you listening to Spotify and having to like roll your eyes because an ad pops up. It's just part of your day. Whether you're going to school or work or going to pick up dinner, it's part of that journey. And it really used to be top of the funnel in people's minds. It's just brand awareness. Out of home is branding. It's just getting your brand out there. It is so not just that anymore. Yes, of course, it's a great medium for that all day long, right? But I mean, that grocery store shopper that I just mentioned, that's a little bit more mid-funnel, right? That's getting closer to the bottom of the funnel. And we can hit bottom of the funnel with an experiential event. You put a brand ambassador, on the streets handing out a free sample of a charged lemonade or of a Kind bar, and you have them talking to people about, what does it mean to you to fuel up in the middle of the day? Talk to us about, your favorite granola bar. Have you ever tried the Kind bar? That's one-to-one. And that's what out of home can do now. So it's the whole funnel now, which it's pretty cool to be part of, for sure.
Hey, Ellie,
Yeah.
thanks. First of all, let me start with this. Thanks for being on the show. I love outdoor as well, like her. I just think it's a fascinating channel. And you're right. When you start talking about it, it's like, holy cow, there is so many aspects to it.
Right.
When you were giving your kind of opening, you were talking about like you're really ODN is seeing explosive growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's causing that? What is driving that right now?
Relationships, 100%.
Yeah.
And I always say in my meetings with potential clients or existing clients, I'm not here to solve a problem you don't have. You're buying out a home in Milwaukee and it's going great and you have your 2 reps that you love. I don't want to take that business. You continue to do that and it's working for you. But you got to buy a billboard in Albuquerque. You're going to have no idea who the players are. You're going to have no idea what the rates are. Those guys in Albuquerque could quote you double what they quote us. There's no checks and balances in this piece of our industry because every market's different. These boards are physical structures And they could sell you something that has a tree in front of it. You're not going to know. You're not in Albuquerque. We are. Our media buyers are riding the boards. They are crossing units off of the list that we would never buy because of trees grow, buildings get built. So people trust us and they know that we're going to go to bat for their brand. We're only going to place them on the best units in town and we're going to get the best rates. And over time, that trust built, and people move into new roles, different agencies.
Sure.
And within months, we're getting phone calls. Hey, Ali, you remember I used to work at ICF Next, and now I've landed at VML Y&R. Can you help me? So it's really been quite organic. And I think it all stems from our relationships and our very client-focused approach to every buy.
I like how you said journey,
Yeah.
And I remember now it prompted, I remember our conversation about you really underscoring that word. So how does it work? In my mind, it's just, when I was kind of setting the show up earlier, how media and creative really would need to work hand in hand, and how that's where the best thinking. I mean, your organization and the talent, the resources, it's vast. And I'm kind of curious, is it, when folks come to you, Ali, is it pretty much like, hey, listen, you know what? I need a billboard. Here's my situation.
Yeah.
Here's my client. Here's the challenge, kind of like the mini brief. And I need a billboard in Albuquerque. Or is it like, hey, I have a client in New Mexico, and here's kind of the situation we're up against. And then are you all coming to the table saying, you know what? All right, here are the recommendations. We can attack this a number of ways. I mean, how does this work?
It's a kind of all over the board. Of course, I'm going to say that, but let's just talk about the kind of client that says we want to hit a mom in Minnesota that's 41 that has 2 kids in the home and just bought a pair of Nikes last month. How do we hit her and her lookalikes?
Yeah, how do you hit her?
Let's talk about that. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
So we can target now. And so we'll approach it from a very hyper targeted standpoint. We'll probably call, we'll layer in the zips, the high indexing zips. Of course, we've been doing that for years, but now we can place a lot of the digital out of home programmatically. And we're working with, a number of DSPs where we can go in, we can find out how many venue types, how many screens we can get on to target that mom, and find out how to reach her, and what the CPM might look like. Now, buying programmatic out of home, this is a whole new topic, but it's going to be at a much higher CPM than if we were to call the Screenverse and the movie theater, advertise, all the one-offs. But it's a great way to really target your audience. If that's the number one KPI for our client, like we want to target, then that's what we do. But most times, honestly, it's very location focused and based. Like our clients like Remax, Panera, Wendy's, they have very specific locations where they need out of home. And then we're going to just we're going to turn over every rock to find the best locations that target those areas, within like a Panera delivery radius. There's all these different things, that we'll have to take into consideration. But it really depends on the client, Yeah.
So let's stay on that for a little bit, because I love examples and I love hearing some of the war stories. So share with us, if you could, here's one of the more unique things that we did for, if you're comfortable with saying the name, you don't have to, but this is something we did. It is something you would not even think we could do. It's like, wow. And these are the results. Share with us maybe a sample or two.
There's some government business that we get to work on, which is pretty fun. And the targeting that we have to do when it comes to you can't cross county lines, you can't cross zip codes. So obviously transit's out. I mean, any moving inventory is just cut. So we have to find place-based within those either sub-zips or zips. But for the government stuff, and there's hard takedown dates. if it stays up one day past our hard takedown date, there's going to be, we're going to be subject to fees potentially. So it's kind of scary going into it. Because I mean, if you have 35 posters in a market that are all supposed to come down on Monday, May 1st, how do you set expectations with your client that they don't have 30 installers to go and take them physically down? It's not just like digital where you hit a button and it turns off. So it's all about setting expectations. But I guess with Panera, we have launched a lot of their new products over the years. So when it comes to like flatbreads and mac and cheese and certain, runny egg breakfast sandwiches, and delivery was a big launch too. Being within the delivery zone, also a location that does deliver, there's just all these different buckets that we have to check to make sure that we're delivering in the right way for the client. And it can get a little hectic and a little crazy, but we're able to pull it off somehow.
Ellie, one of the things that I've seen, and I love looking at boards, and just being in marketing, I'm just like, being an observer, and I still see a lot of boards that are terrible, and they're terrible for a couple reasons. One, it's really just one reason. They just put too much shit on the board.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and I know it's always going to happen, but how do you have that conversation with prospects and your clients about that, going, hey, listen, I understand you got a lot of cool things to say. However, I've been in the business a while. This is going to,
it's like kicking their kicking their dog or kicking their baby, whatever the saying is. But we have definitely had to have conversations like that with so many clients. Back when I used to sell billboards at CBS Outdoor, it happened all the time, because you're working with the guy that owns the sod company, and he's been saving forever and he wants his granddaughter, his phone number, his website, his everything's got the address, location, a picture of the sod. But now it's we're working with brand agencies. Yeah, we're partnering with like these big branding agencies. Now, those people typically are really good at print and digital ads, right? Yeah. And a lot of times they're cut and pasting a print ad onto a transit shelter or onto a billboard. And I remember having to make a call a few years ago and say, the word avocado is on this billboard 4 times. Oh. Do you like avocado? You should try the new avocado melt. It has avocado. Who doesn't love And I was like, okay, so let's drill this down. The name of the sandwich has avocado, so you don't really need to talk about it. And the picture is of a big ass avocado. So yes, I've had to make those phone calls before, and the graphic artists can tend to be a little bit like snippy back, but I will say we've been successful in sort of turning the tides to that whole 7 words or less. Beautiful imagery is going to, always be a home run if you have the budget. And a lot of times it doesn't take a lot of budget. Add an extension, add some sort of extension. It just makes it pop so much better. If you're using digital, use it for what it's worth. Do day parting. I mean, have a morning message and middle of the day. Use it for what it's worth. Otherwise, go static. I mean, what's the point?
Ellie, for those who are listening who are not familiar with extensions, what is that?
Good point. I know I tend to use a lot of out-of-home terminology that might everybody not know about. So yeah, extensions it's a fabricated piece of wood that's wrapped with a vinyl where you're able to extend your message past the edges of the billboard. So if it's a 14 by 48, you can typically go 5 feet up, 2 feet out. And or you can hang stuff. I worked on this awesome campaign here in Minneapolis a few years back for Red Gold tomatoes. They had a vine that grew up, tease and reveal. Then the tomatoes showed up, and the local news stations were going crazy. There's tomatoes growing off of this billboard on 494. And then the Red Gold tomato cans got installed, and everybody just went nuts over it. It was just such a huge success.
Dynamite. I love that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Props are expensive, but there's some, you don't always got to go atomic props. They're probably, they've been doing it the longest and are, some would consider are the best, but we know a lot of other options in the industry. We're able to typically deliver an extension or a prop that can be pretty affordable. There's these new cool blow up props, blow up vinyl. They sew it together and they put like a bouncy house blow up machine on the billboard and it stays inflated. I mean, it's just such cool shit. I just love it.
Well, you said something really interesting, and that is with the red gold, right? To the tomato. Yeah. Not only, I mean, yes, okay, yes, I'm sure that was expensive. I'm sure that they're paying a premium for that, but not only are they getting the exposure on the board, which I'm sure is good. 494 is a huge highway up in the Twin Cities, right? So they're getting that daily, but now you're getting enough free press coverage, right, on the news that people are talking about it that way as well. So, it becomes more than an ad. It really becomes a kind of a little kind of viral piece, right?
Yeah, there's some really cool stats out there about out of home. 1 in 4 people have posted an out of home advertisement on their social media in their lifetime. I mean, it's just who's posting about a radio ad on their Instagram, or who's posting about it's big and it speaks to you. So I think that that's so cool. So like those organic earned impressions are totally part of it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I want to unpackage because we hit on some really important things here. You were talking about, you gave the example of, I don't know, avocado guy, whatever, but it's like, it is interesting because we talked about that earlier. It's like the message is every bit as important as the channel, and the channel's got to be is just as important as the message. If out of home is, if Ali comes up with the best idea, your company's like, you know what? Oh, I want to hit moms who do B, and here's what we do. And the creative is off for the mess. Boom, we fail. So the other thing that's kind of interesting too, is I think ad sales has become, it used to be so transactional, but I loved how you were spitballing. And to me, smart agencies, I know that's how we operate. It's like, we're not looking at an outside company as someone we're just hiring, like a vendor. It's like, no, I'm hiring you for your brain, and what can you bring to the table? How can you make what we're doing better, because you're the expert. And that's the way it really should take place,
right? I mean, back when I first got into this in 2007, it was like renewal. We're going to do a spring campaign and a fall campaign. We do it every year. We want to use the same billboards. And it was just like, all right, I guess everybody's going to go play golf. Well, who has time to play golf? I don't even know how these golf courses stay in business, because it's just like we're having to plan every single campaign separately, because it changes and it evolves. There's like new product launches, or they want to target new areas. It's a lot more work, but I think that the campaigns are more meaningful for the brands. I mean, so yeah, it has changed. It used to be so transactional, but now there is just like so much blood, sweat, and tears that go into these campaigns. We have these sufficiency metrics for Panera, and if we don't hit these media sufficiency metrics for each DMA, they'll just nix it. So there's just certain markets where like some of these KPIs aren't getting hit, and it's very, it can be seasonal. Like maybe in Minneapolis in the summer with summer cabin traffic, it changes our sufficiency metrics. So we're not going to advertise in Minneapolis this summer. It's constantly evolving, but it's not just, we want 5 directionals telling people to take the next exit and go buy a sandwich. It's just not like that anymore. It's way more intense, but man, it's fun.
Yeah. So you threw out a stat earlier. You said, and correct me, you said about 1 out of 4, 25% of, post an outdoor and out of home on their social. Putting you on the spot here, but make Pat and my head explode. Give us like just 1 or 2 other like stats that people would be like, what? Like when it comes to out of home, that they would never really like, wow.
Yeah.
Make me say wow.
Okay. All right. I have lots. I'll pick like 3 or 4.
You do.
So when you pair out of home with a digital campaign, especially mobile, I mean, think about it. You're out, I mean, everybody has this thing on them all the time. Your click-through rates are ×4 of the national average if you just pair it with some out of home in the market. So increasing the click-through rates, the mobile and billboards are just a perfect match made in heaven, peas and carrots. So that stat I love, 4 times national average. 90% of adults 18 plus have noticed some form of out of home in the last 4 weeks or the last month. And I think majority of that is your big traditional stuff, the big billboards, the posters. Then it falls off from there. Then it goes like the large format transit, your big train wraps with USKs, you know, it's called an ultra super king.
Yep.
We have some really fun terms in our industry here. An ultra super king is wheel well to wheel well, top to bottom of a bus. It's basically a mobile billboard driving down the highway. So people are noticing that about 70% of the time. And then you get down to like street furniture, your transit shelters, your bus benches, that stuff that's more eye level, a tinge more pedestrian focused, but still very vehicular focused. And that's about 50% of adults 18 plus in the US are noticing those every month. So yeah, people are engaging with out of home, but also it's like they don't recall it. You can't I remember one time I worked for this. It was the Lake Home and Cabin Show. And this guy did billboards. And when he had everybody come to the Lake Home and Cabin Show, he did a little survey when people got there. Where did you hear about it? Nobody picked the billboard. And
Sure.
He was like, Ali, how can I prove this is working? And there's always been this whole, you can't prove that my billboards are working. Well, thankfully now we have amazing measurement opportunities with foot traffic studies, attribution, all this cool post-plan stuff that we can add on. And I can dive into that. I'm kind of squirreling, but there's ways you can do it now. And I wish I would have had that bag of tricks about 12 years ago when that guy challenged me. But yeah, it's interesting.
Ellie, one of the things I'm curious about is
Yeah.
how do you guys work in terms of, explain this to me in terms of like new business, like I'm sure you have a lot of just repeat business, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Those clients are gonna just, here's the new product, here's the new sandwich, etc. Do you work with mostly agencies are contacting you or are brands reaching out to you directly? How does that work?
I would say most of our business is partnering with existing agencies
Okay.
that have brands that they work with. Yes,
Gotcha.
we work with a lot of brands direct.
Yeah.
And funny stuff can happen. Like just recently, I got a phone call from somebody at Caribou Coffee. And big brand, it's always been sort of a brand like on the top of my list that I always want to work with. I love Caribou. I'm a big Caribou Coffee fan.
Yeah.
They're local. You know me, I'm like a big Minnesota freak too. So I love our local companies. And so when they called, I was just over the moon. But you know what they had heard through the grapevine? We do DOT logo signs. Those blue highway signs, everybody knows them, and everybody's like, oh yeah, I've seen those. What are those things? Massive piece of business for us. So that was it was really cool. And you should have seen this girl. She was like, I'm so glad I found you. It's a really hard thing to manage, these logo signs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's mostly agencies. Some brands direct, like for Panera, we partner with their other like 5 or 6 ad agencies. They have PR, brand, media. They have, Publicis buys all their media except for out of home. So a lot of times we'll partner with their other agencies and we'll ideate. I just had a big ideation session with Publicis this morning and their PR agency about like how we're gonna launch some cool shit this summer. So yeah, it's really fun. But building new business, you're saying a lot of it is referral. I also will uncover any small to medium sized independently owned agencies are typically, if I can get in front of them and show them what we do, somebody in the room, a media buyer, will be like, where have you been all my life? I mean, these people are trying to buy something blind. I mean, nobody has the budget to fly somebody to Denver to go look at billboards or the time.
Right.
So to lean on us and have us do it for them, it's like a godsend. So yeah, I'm definitely doing a lot of new business, Dev. And I've got 2 other salespeople on my team, but we're really busy also managing big accounts. I oversee the Remax and the Panera account myself.
Wow.
So,
that's big stuff. Hey, Ali, you mentioned
Yeah.
those blue kind of transit signs right now, and that reminded me, Kurt, you may have seen this as well, like the construction on 43 going north, right?
Mhm.
So we've got 43 is a highway right here in town.
Yeah.
It's getting totally ripped up, and it's been this way for a while. But I've
Mhm.
noticed this within the last maybe 2-ish years, and it might have been longer, but on these constructions, big signs, they'll have like
Yep.
underneath it will be Geico Insurance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the hell did Geico get these things, man? I mean, it's like, what a great opportunity
Right.
for like,
Sitting in
oh my
traffic
gosh.
and it's right in front of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you're just driving by because you're always going to be looking at construction signs, right? I mean, that's like,
Right.
that's one thing you are, a sign you could definitely
Yeah.
say, yeah, you're probably going to
Mm.
see that.
Right.
So is this
Yeah.
like a new thing? And is like, how do brands even get into this stuff?
Most states are operated independently, and
Okay.
a lot of them have adopted interstate logos, which is run by Lamar. You
Wow.
know Lamar.
Yep. Yep.
But there's also a lot of states that are more independent, and they run their own DOT logos themselves, and they have one woman. And how do you? I mean, it's really hard to know who to contact. You have to get
Yeah.
on a wait list. You have
Yeah.
to be like within a certain mileage of the interstate. But it's so affordable. It is like the best kept secret in place-based advertising. I swear to God, it's
Well,
so affordable, and you'll get locked in for a whole year. It's like $100 a month on some of these.
so time out here. Not only is that great for the brand, I don't know why states aren't like, okay, hey, this is a revenue stream here. Let's get a couple
Yeah.
people
Right.
on this, right?
Yeah.
Make it
Yeah.
real easy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's such a good point. Yeah. They're not making it very easy to uncover. But I just thought it was really cool that Caribou had heard about it, and
Yeah.
they came to us as that expert, because we have a whole team of people that all they do is book DOT logos for
Oh my
Panera,
gosh.
Wendy's. Yeah, it is crazy.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy
Well,
cool.
speaking of
Yeah.
Caribou, we used to have Caribou here, and I do miss Caribou. There were locations in Wisconsin. I don't even think there are any in Wisconsin, but I used to hit a couple of the Caribou locations here in Milwaukee. Great coffee.
Yeah.
You had mentioned Publicis, and I think smart on for Publicis, because that was one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about. You were saying you were in a brainstorm session with the agency, and they were kind of talking through like, hey, we're doing this from a PR perspective. I think that is so smart. And again, it gets back to what an organization like you or you personally can offer. It's like, this is not transactional. Like you, and I said let's not look at this as one piece of the puzzle. Let's look at this as the entire puzzle and how this fits together.
Yeah.
I think it's so smart. So Ali, in your industry, I'm trying to wrap my brain around. I was on your website. I had a chance to talk to you. There's some really cool differentiators that you offer. How competitive is it? Like, how many ODNs are out there? Like, Alex, is this something where it's like, guys, there are a ton, or is it, you know what? It's not as big as you think. And
it's not.
By us doing these 4 things, it really makes us unique. Talk to us a little bit about your industry.
So we have maybe like 4 or 5 different competitors. And they specialize in different things. Like, so Billups is a competitor, great company. Benj Billups is a great guy, and they are, I have clients and friends that have used Billups over the years, really good at like the big splashy placements in Times Square. Or like, negotiating that weird wall in LA for, hand painting or something like that. it's different than us. I mean, can we do that? Yes. But I'm really good at finding the best billboard in Kearney, Nebraska for the one Panera location that's there. Or like, we work with TA Travel Centers. We work with Pilot Flying J. These are travel centers in the middle of nowhere. So would Billups be really good at that? Probably not. So we cover off on the in between the DMAs, as well as the DMAs, and then it's that local feel too. Not always do they go local. Maybe sometimes they do, but we always do, and that just it uncovers the best rates, the best inventory. And when you've been doing it as long as we have, I mean, we're like 22 years now. Our sales reps from 10 years ago are now the GMs. So when you need a favor, it's really, really helpful to know the management in these local offices. Or if there's like something that goes wrong. I mean, just yesterday we found out that a couple of posters didn't get posted in Albuquerque. And but we know the manager. So we pick up the phone call, like, what are we going to do? Of course, you're going to, give us some override on the back end. No problem. Talk to you later. So it's awesome to have those local relationships when you need a favor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's like, I like how I think you said it perfectly earlier. It's like, there's no way, like a normal agency, it's like, if we had a client, it's like, and say we had to get some good penetration into Lincoln, Nebraska or Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
I mean, we can spit out spreadsheets,
right?
And we can look at, but it's like, but you're bringing some of the real into it. It's like, great, let me turn that data into some information. Let me tell you what this spreadsheet really means. Yep. So looking at your industry, out of home, I mean, and some of this seems so, and again, maybe I'm wrong. It's like, I'm trying to wrap my brain around the fact that I think of out of home, and it's, to me, there's a blur between experiential too. It's so, there's the experiential agencies, but it's like, it really crosses over. What are you seeing? What's coming up? Like, what are some things, like, are you aware of certain things like that? Like, what's the next thing, or things that you're seeing that are kind of new to maybe to Pat and I or clients?
Yeah. I would think that, well, for what's big on the horizon for our industry, and we at ODN are really leading that charge, which I'm really proud of, is the quick turn request. Now, when you need to know what's available in a market, I mean, it takes a while. You got to call your rep. You got to wait for them to turn over the proposal. Then we take all the different proposals from all the different reps and we curate them into our proprietary software system, which is another big differentiator about ODN. And we deliver it on a web-based, link to our clients. So, but what would be really nice is if we had an API to Lamar Clear Channel out front for real-time avails and real-time posting information. I think that one of the biggest issues in our industry is that there's a lot of override. Vinyls stay up. A vinyl might stay up on a 14x4 or even a poster for 6 months sometimes. Think of the override, the impressions. Those are free impressions you're getting. And we're not doing a good job as an industry of communicating that to our clients. So yeah, we're one of the lowest CPM media types in the industry, but we're even lower than that because of all the added override. So we are working really hard to, pull on those relationships that we have with the big three, Clear Channel, Lamar out front, but plus all of the independents as well, like DDI and Mile High and all those guys. We want to connect to their systems, pull the real-time avails, and also be able to get POP photos to our clients in real time. So when installer Bob goes to install a vinyl and he takes that picture, it doesn't go to the out front system. It also goes to our system and it notifies the client in real time. I mean, as a salesperson, there's just nothing better than showing your new client you're up. Your billboard's up. It's not a pretty picture. It's an installer picture, but still your baby. I mean, it feels like a baby. Your baby's in the air.
Yeah, totally.
So for us, and I think the industry is going to follow, is faster proposal turn times and better reporting on override and better delivery on POP. We haven't done a great job as an industry on POP delivery, and we're really putting a ton of time, effort, money, all the things into getting better at that. So that's what I'm excited for this year.
Very cool. Well, you hit on it earlier, and we don't need to dig into it, but I like how you said earlier, out of home hits all levels of the funnel. It's upper funnel, it's consideration, it's if you want traction, that retail lower level, you can get it there, and I think that's pretty cool. So we like to ask our guests a lot. Obviously, there's a lot happening in your specific vertical, not to mention just the advertising industry business. But Ali, how do you stay on top of things? Like, what are things you listen to, podcasts? What are publications you read? What do you do just to kind of stay worldly and somewhat in the trenches of what's going on in the business?
Yeah. I am always staying on top of our industry by reading up on Billboard Insider. There is the Out of Home Insider, which is Tim Rowe, and he does an awesome podcast. And then we have Brent Baer, who sends out an email every day almost with like updates in our industry. His synonym is Billboard, which I love. So yeah, I would say it's just like very localized industry publications. Also, I am a big believer in going to the industry events. Just was in Nashville at the OAAA and Geopath national event. It was just incredible to see some of those speakers and to connect with, friends really in the industry. And we're also, we were just at the IBO, which is the Independent Billboard Operator group, and that was in Houston this week. We aren't part of it because we're not an independent billboard operator, but we hosted a kick-ass Black Sheep happy hour after the event that had about 100 people come to. So we're just always looking to stay on the up and up with that too.
Ellie, I got to ask you, because you're at trade shows, you're diving deep into content that, trade content. What do you see as potential threats to the business?
Yeah.
If any, I mean, do you see anything like off to the side or beyond the horizon going, oh boy, this could be a thing in X amount of years? It's not like digital's going to, because you're already there, So what?
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you're seeing anything.
You're right. Yeah, I think when I was selling billboards 10, 15 years ago, I was nervous about how digital was taking the lion's share of our, of our budgets. But I think, I think it's more just how we are measuring impressions right now. And this is going to be a little bit deeper into our industry than maybe you were hoping, but Geopath is basically our impression auditor for our industry, and they keep changing the way they're doing it, whether it's an opportunity to see, or it is, they actually saw it, or it's an eyes-on impression, or it's just evolved so much that I have had to explain why these numbers are changing. How does this billboard by the airport go from 100,000 impressions weekly to 500,000 impressions weekly? How does reach and frequency, the same plan yet last year had a 80 reach and a 7 frequency, and this year it's down 20%. And it's just because they're changing their methodology. So I really believe that we need another checks and balance. I mean, I feel like we're the only piece of the ad industry that only has one auditing system. We need another one. And I think that there's some, there are some up and coming discussions about like other nonprofits or, businesses starting to audit our inventory so that we have options, because there's only one. I don't think it's right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Cool.
As we start to wrap up here a little bit, this has been, we could keep going. Pat, we'd love to have you back sometime but it's been great. But as we always like to do, Ali, we'd like to always finish by just giving the mic to you to share whatever you want to share. Plug whatever you want to plug. Obviously, we'll do our part in the post copy, but just how do people find you? What are your parting words, if you will?
Sure. I have a few. So number one, don't skip out of home because it's hard. I've talked to so many people in our industry and in advertising and marketers where they're like, you know what? Shh, don't tell anybody, but I don't buy out of home because it's just too hard. I like to drop a pin instead of impressions, or I know the radio stations, I'm just gonna book it. OTTs, easy. It's don't skip out of home because it's hard. It's such an awesome layer to have in your media mix. I'd never tell you to stop, buying another media type that's working, but really consider adding out of home to the mix and don't skip it because it's hard. The other thing I wanted to say too is just how thankful I am for my team, everybody at ODN. I mean, you think I'm an out-of-home nerd? We all are. There's 53 of us, so it's pretty fun to be surrounded by like-minded individuals that have a passion for what we do. So just super thankful for them, and I think a lot of our success has to do, or can be credited to every single person at ODN. To contact us, I'm on LinkedIn at Ali Broback, and I think you're going to post my email address as well. But yeah, any new business inquiries, if we can help with any out of home, and honestly, I just like answering out of home questions too. Like, hey Al, is Rochester, New York a good out of home market? No, it's not. Put your money into Facebook. But
interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of owned by. It's got a monopoly, so the rates are really high, CPMs are high. But, is Omaha a good out-of-home market? Yes. There's two players there that keep each other honest, great CPMs, that got great coverage across all the major roadways and freeways. Yeah. So any out-of-home questions, I'd love to help on any level. So yeah, happy to dive in.
Wow, very cool. Well, your title is Chief Client Officer is fitting. And if I could pay you a compliment, many of our guests have great communication skills, and you clearly have awesome communication skills. And I could just tell that probably helps you tremendously, you and your company, from a networking perspective. You touched on certain things, like when Pat asked, how do you get new business? And right away, you're like, I like to get out there. I want to meet with people. I want to go to seminars or whatever it might be. To me, that says someone that's like, they get it, because they're going to be given an opportunity to leverage what strengths they have, and clearly you've got great sales skills, and I think everyone can benefit by having sales skills. I don't care what your role is in an organization, you should have them, and if you don't realize that, you need to. So, but Ali, I can't say enough how thankful we are. It's been so much fun. You came in as advertised, with the knowledge and the personality. It's been a lot of fun. So on that note, this has been another episode of Over a Pint with Ali Broback. Ali, thank you so much. Cheers.
Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you so much. So fun. Cheers.